back again. And what a great two episodes, two-parter. I really liked the fact that we finally find out who Ashildr is. And, we've got, Vikings. Really, I think 12 was kind of funny here. And obviously Clara, given the fact that everybody knows that she's leaving, there's a certain sense of foreboding, and Jenna Coleman doesn't have to do as much in these episodes, which is kind of doable, I suppose. I don't quite know how I feel about that. Overall, though, the episode was fairly good. There was some good dialogue. However, there was some argument I heard on the internet that it wasn't quite factually correct. And you know what? It slips by the line. So I like that. And there are a lot of good elements too. Like there was a good use of irony, which I liked, especially at the start of it. But yeah, I'm going to go into all of those into the review without blabbing on in the intro, like I always seem to do. But you know how it's how it goes. I just love Doctor Who, I really do, and I just could ramble on and on and on and on and on. But anyway, good to see you guys, and let's get into the review. His guitar skills were awesome. It did throw me off a little bit though. I thought, okay, are we in the actual episode, or are we just doing something else? I was a bit confused by that intro for a minute there, because it was kind of out of sequence. I don't know, it seemed out of sequence to me. It was a bit disconcerting at first. I was like, huh? But no. Immediately after that, we get to Clara being trapped, and that funny little banter between the two of them. You've got, Love Sprite trying to suck the brains, from Clara's mouth. And, the doctor's like, well, I'm being shot at as well. And, it was just a nice little, very, it was a very good moment that kind of is very typical to Who, but also kind of, it's one of those things that only Doctor Who can get away with in that sort of context. I mean, who else would have an argument when they're being shot at, or something violent is about to happen to them? It was just beautiful. So yeah, he saves her, obviously, and basically ends up squishing the Love Sprite on his foot, on his shoe. And yeah, that was a sweet little moment. Not because he squished it on the shoe, but because he was like, oh, now I have to go wash it off on the grass. So they stop off on Earth. And that's where the Vikings come in. Oh my god, the Vikings were hilarious in this. He had to deal with a lot. He had to, slow himself down, because the Doctor was very inclined to, as we all know him, well, in this incarnation anyway, be a little bit kind of impatient and brash and kind of rude and kind of like, you're all putting brains and that's just how it's going to be. It was nice to see, how his sort of big talk actually didn't work on the Vikings, and they actually broke his Sonic's sunglasses, which again, I'll just bring up the point, did bring up some sort of controversy amongst some Whovians. I can see why, but we're not going to go into that into the review. I just thought I'd bring up that point. And yeah, of course, he's brought back to the village where he meets Ashildr, and he has this sort of weird moment. It's like, do I know you? Of course, we all know, so it's like, oh, okay, so that's where you come into things. But no. And then Clara inquires, which is kind of nice, because it kind of brings the whole kind of, it ties in with the whole kind of thing. And, you've got these, well, the perfect bit about it is that you've got the whole Valhalla thing, an honor thing, tied in with the whole thing, and they end up, like, oh, please, there's no such thing as Odin. That was the Doctor. after, of course, bringing out his yo-yo. No, sorry, before bringing out his yo-yo and trying to be impressive with a yo-yo. It just didn't work. And of course, apparently he looked too old, which I think was a kind of a joke amongst the writing team. Because previously when he first started, Peter Capaldi was like, oh, and all the fans, some of the fans anyway, were like, oh, but he's so old, he can't be the Doctor. And it's like, they left, and then he came along. And he's actually really good at it. I really loved how funny Peter Capaldi can be, especially in that particular scene. It was very funny because he was trying really, really hard. I really liked that physical comedy. He's really good at that, particularly in that scene, I reckon. But yeah, no, he's like, oh, I'm Odin, but no, he's too old. And then, of course, after he's like, well, how do you know what Odin looks like? That's when a Odin-like figure appears as a holographic projection from the clouds. Perfect irony, perfect place. Well, not really irony, but perfect placement. Yeah, I suppose it was kind of ironic because previous to that, he was trying to say, well, how do you know what Odin looks like? How do you know he's even real? And then that happens, and it's like, well, he just doesn't know what to say. And throughout the episode, he's constantly, in The Girl Who Lived, that is, he's constantly trying to find, some ground again and some way to get their attention when, it's just not working. And of course, that's when Clara was like, oh no, we've got to get onto the ship when the Maya arrived. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. In the trailer, before it actually aired, I thought it was the Myhad. But no, it's the Maya. And they beam down, and I'm assuming every one of you Whovian, well, every single Whovian, I should say, just went, oh my god. Okay, so that's the Maya that we've been hearing about for a long, long time. Is this where they come into things? This should be, this is going to be a bloodbath. Well, at least it seemed that way. It was like, but nope. They were taken up into the ship. Of course, well, I don't know. I thought immediately slaughter. And that was a nice kind of foreboding sense of thing. Because they were like, oh no, it's Valhalla, and we're all like, we the audience are like, nah, it's not going to happen. And of course, it doesn't happen. Then, Clara and Ashildr survive. They get taken to the leader of that particular group of the Maya. And, well, we find out that, it's actually testosterone juice. And then Clara makes a quip about testosterone. Really, really well-placed jokes in this episode. Like in that episode, the first part. The second part, though, well, actually, no. Sorry, I'm jumping. I'll get to that because that's also really exciting and I really like to talk about as well. I liked, in The Girl Who Lived, I liked how Ashildr was headstrong and she was like, no, we'll beat you, and that actually caused a bit of a problem. But overall, I think, Ashildr kind of had to do that. I mean, I think she was kind of those characters. Well, Maisie Williams has always played strong. Like, well, not always, but I've seen her play strong characters. I just put it out there. I've seen her play strong characters, and she does them very well. Especially the headstrong type. So yeah, commendation to Maisie Williams. You were brilliant at that. So yeah, Ashildr does that, and then the whole village is in danger. But then they're all like, oh. So we're all farmers. That was a nice little dynamic. I mean, I know that's been done before a few times in several different series and such, but, it was nice to see. And you've got the whole again, there was a lot of physical comedy in this episode, where you've got, well, the Doctor tries to train them all into soldiers, and of course, it doesn't work. One of them doesn't like the sight of blood. One of them, well, they're all not particularly adept at using swords, and the village ends up on fire. So it's like, well, that's just not going to happen. But overall, I liked the way it ended. I mean, it was nice to see that kind of ending. Not always do you see that kind of... I mean, yes, some would consider it like just a little simplified, but I don't think so. I think it was well done. I mean, the idea that you could use a Maya helmet to project an image from your mind, from your imagination, and create and turn something ordinary and not scary into something else really kind of worked. And I like the whole concept that, this apparent warrior race was just beefed up. They weren't actually anything impressive. They were just, big in name only. That was it, as the Doctor pointed out. It was nice to see that, and again, it was kind of a light way to end it. Well, a light way to end that part anyway, and then we get into the serious bit when, Ashildr basically dies and the Doctor feels responsible for it. So he brings her back. That was one of those moments that I felt it was very touching. I actually, I'm not embarrassed to say I actually cried in that bit, especially when he said, "I'm sick and tired of losing." I don't know about you, but that was a feels moment. Did anybody else experience that feels moment? Because that was just very intense. And yeah. So then, of course, the Doctor decides to bring her back to life using the Maya technology, essentially make her another immortal and a hybrid, which also leads into the whole plot arc of hybrids, which we still don't know about quite yet, but we're getting some sort of idea. We're just getting hints left, right, and center at the moment. But yeah, that episode, and as it was awesome. As a first parter, it was also good, but the second part, now, that was considerably different tone, which I liked, but it was very, very different. It went from slightly comedic and then sort of sad to very dark, very dramatic, and Ashildr, otherwise known as Me now, that was her name, which again, it kind of surprised me. I mean, of all the names you could have picked, but that's not the point. The point is, she went from being this young, excited individual to this world is horrible. I feel numb. I don't care anymore. So I'm just going to help a Tharil, which is another great, return to Doctor Who. We haven't seen them in a while. A bit of history there for those who don't know. The Tharils were an ancient time-traveling civilization that could actually time travel sort of naturally. And they were one of the only ones that actually could do it naturally without any sort of aid. And, they were basically immune to the time winds. And, of course, another time lady, Romana, who the Doctor previously travelled with, ended up helping them, and she, in fanfiction, ended up becoming, basically the president of Gallifrey and basically negotiating treaties with them. But that's a bit of added information. Just thought I'd put that in there because it's just so huge. This episode has so many tropes and many There's so many good things about it. But yeah, you've got a completely different setting this time. She's obviously quite older and wiser, maybe, yeah, but I like the fact that she tries to leave with the doctor, but he's like, I've been where you are, and you kind of remind me of me, so no, this wouldn't work out. I like that. But throughout the entire episode, I also liked how she just kept laying it on him, comment after comment after comment. And then she kind of betrayed him, not knowing, naively, despite her age, that, Leandro would betray her. And then she actually finds out that she does care, which is just, well, sorry about that. It is, I don't know how to describe it. Well, it's a good moment because it just brings back to the point. Well, it doesn't matter if you're numb or whatever, you will, feel something eventually. So she does care, and the doctor was right. So she ends up basically saving the person who's being ripped open by that very device, which is used by the Tharils to come back from, I'm just trying to remember, N space or E space. But anyway, they try to come back from their own dimension into our world, basically conquer it, as they had done once or twice before. But of course, she manages to close it by making him immortal and stopping his death. And yes, I should have mentioned that his death powered that special crystal machine. Well, not machine, special amulet. And yeah, for a while before that, she was kind of cold, which was also kind of nice to see. I mean, Maisie Williams did a fantastic job at acting and pretending to be a, 800-year-old or so. Actually, I think her age was mentioned, and I've forgotten it. But yeah, you get the point. It was overall amazing, and she ends up bringing one of the characters back who, basically was involved in a robbery at the very beginning of the episode, and Clara, I'll just put this out there, Clara was not involved in this episode. She was not there. Clara was not eventful, which again, it was kind of nice to see the Doctor on his own, just once. Just doing something on his own. What else can I say about it? Well, other than where he ends up, we don't know. But it's nice to see that we've got the whole sort of two hybrids. I'd like to see him again, although there's no telling if he's going to return soon. However, Ashildr/me becomes friends with the Doctor, and she vows to watch over the Doctor's leftovers. Presumably that's Clara, because, well, in the end, when, Clara finally does arrive in the TARDIS at the very end of the episode, and the Doctor sees a photo given to him as a present by the kids or her students. Ashildr/me or whatever she decided to call herself in that period of time is seen at the back of the photo looking out at them. So she is defending Clara on Earth. It was overall, the whole two-parter as a whole was amazing. Really well written, clever. Another great testament to how good Doctor Who can be, and Series 9 has just consistently proven that. again and again and again. So yeah, if I had to rate the entire two-parter, I would rate it 4.5 stars, even 5 stars. The only reason why I said 4.5 stars first is because I don't know, I think there were some elements in the first part which were a little kitsch. But they're so small, it only just brings it down like slightly. But that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comment below, or, yeah, just let me know yours. Or, if you want to comment. I'm not phased. So yeah, that was it. That was my review. And I'll be back very soon for the review of another fantastic episode. And this, I honestly believe that this next two-parter will go down in history as one of the best two-parter episodes, two-parter stories, of Doctor Who in history. It made ripples. And I think you all know what they are. They are the Zygon invasion and the Zygon inversion. Amazing. And I'm still talking about them to everybody I know today. And I'll still be talking about it. It's just amazing piece of writing. Well done to Robert Harness. But anyway, that's it for me this time. See you later, guys.